welcome to another episode of Orders Up on Salmon's Pizzeria podcast. Delighted to say that our guest this week is a Queen of the South legend, trophy-laden career that included winning the second division on no less than 4 occasions, as well as 2 Challenge Cups. The first man to score in the top 5 tiers of Scottish football, striker, a goal scorer, a Hall of Fame inductee. It's a pleasure to welcome to the pizzeria, Derek Lyle. Derek, how are you doing?
Thanks very much. Good introduction, that, pal.
Thanks very much.
All good.
Brilliant. We'll jump straight in, to be honest, because I wrote so many questions out. I don't know if I'll get to them all. I don't want to waste too much of your time. So we'll see how far we make it. But the sort of first thing I tend to ask, especially footballers that we have on, is just sort of growing up. Were you just much better than everyone around you? In terms of like playing for your local clubs, did you know you were a little bit more special than the other kids?
No, to be honest, I think I had to try harder than everybody else. I don't think I had it. I was good at my age group, but apart from that, growing up, coming through, trying to get through into like professional league, it was a strange story. I was good at my level, my age group, and then it took for my dad to go to a party with Chip Charlie. And I was sitting in Chip's house, and he put a word in for me to John Lambie to go and trial pre-season. And it was actually the next morning they were starting pre-season. I was at Morton at the time, but it was youth, so I wasn't really going anywhere. But my dad obviously believed in me and seen something more that I could push on. And Chip said, I got a drunken phone call saying, you're in pre-season tomorrow at Partick Thistle, so be ready in that. So that's the way it started. And I went in. Obviously took a back with John Lambie, who was a character and a half, and I was a young kid getting in there, and it was a wee bit took a back, but that's how I got in for trial there.
Oh, amazing! I mean, you've already answered my second question of your young clubs when you, or the clubs you're at when you were a youth. On to Partick, you make your debut Division 2 at the time, I think you are. Is it easier being further down the leagues in terms of getting a shot as a young player? Do you think, or was that just hard work ethic and that drive that got you there?
No, to be honest, it's a bit of both. I think I really had to work hard in pre-season, and but we really set the pace on runs and that to impress John Lambie, because John Lambie was mad on fitness. So when I went in, I was quite fit at the time. So I was like doing runs, obviously trying to impress him, and all the older guys were saying, "You calm down," or like that. So he liked that in me, but I think you've got to work hard nowadays. I think it's a must, and a wee bit of luck and everything gone with it. And probably if I was higher up in the level, I wouldn't have got the chance to play first team football. So it was, I think it was a wee bit of hard work and luck as well, and that getting the phone call for Chip Charlie and telling me again, and it was a wee bit of everything. But when you get there, you've got to work hard and try and take it.
Yeah, 100%. You move on loan to East Stirlingshire, which is Div 3 or League 2. Fantastic return there. 12 games, but 8 goals, which eventually leads to the loan move. I think in the second half of the season was at Queen of the South. Are you hoping on these loan spells that are you planning still to go back to Partick and be a part of that team? Because I think they achieved back-to-back promotions around that time.
Yeah, at the time, Partick, I'm from Bishopbriggs, so Partick's a local team. I support Rangers, but Partick was a local team. That's next for me, and they were a good club. And at the time, John Lambie was a lot of good players, and I wanted desperate to play there, desperate to go and do well there. I played a few times, but desperate to go and to do really well there. And going out on loan and doing well on loan was hopefully going to give me that chance to go back there and play. That was the aim. It was to play at Partick.
And then the first Queen of the South spell. Obviously, it's a second, I guess, after the loan spell. You move there permanently. You achieve another winners medal. Did you feel that instant connection to Queens? Or I mean, I guess the winning is a massive help in settling down at a team, but you go on later and we'll talk about it, but was that instant connection there for you?
It was actually. It's probably, looking back in the both spells I was there, it's probably the club that fitted me best, with the fans, connection with the fans I had right away, and hitting the ground running and winning, obviously getting promotion. And we played, I think it was a cup final as well, and I think I scored in the first one. I think I scored in the final. Wee bit of everything, just that, and I was scoring goals and working hard, and the fans the fans took to me. So that was a really successful spell. Albeit I can remember looking back, it was going down there at night time. They were part time, so it was a long drive, and Tuesday and Thursday nights away in the roads to Dumfries. But it paid off, and I really enjoyed my time there both times.
Yeah, I mean, and on that time as well, you're scoring goals, but you do go back out on loan. I think it's Stirling Albion this time, and again a tremendous return in goals there. Is this making you hungrier to succeed? Is frustration starting to build up that sort of Partick Queens now you're going out on loan and not getting the first team chances?
Yeah, but part of the reason I went in loan to Stirling is Alan Moore was the manager, and Alan Moore was a personal friend, still is a personal friend. And Alan Moore took me to Partick Thistle, drove me there because I couldn't drive at the time. So he picked me up. He was a friend of the family. So when Alan Moore went to the management there to get me games, he kind of sold Stirling Albion to me, and I knew him. So it was kind of a favour both ways. He was getting me games, and I was going and playing for him. So it made sense. But that was the connection, was Alan Moore being a personal friend of mine is when I went there.
Right, that makes a lot more sense, especially when you're doing the research. That you just see the stats, don't you? You're obviously going back out on loan. But you do end up, obviously, your spell comes to an end with Queens, and you end up signing with Dundee, a big club. As is customary, you have an outstanding debut season. But I think this is the year as well that Gretna were in the Div 1 or the Championship, and they sort of complete their journey to the top. What was your thoughts on Gretna at that time, especially playing them? You know, obviously they were very, I think it was Brooks Marsden, wasn't it, was pumping so much money into them at the time. Is that making them, is that hungrier for you to beat them, and does that drive you, or is it just another team that?
No, it's just another team. You can have all the money in the world, and it might not work for you, but it did work for them, and they were going through the divisions. But obviously playing against them, it's good to get that money. If it was me, then you would look to go there as well. We've been obviously ambitious to go through the leagues. Obviously, they were getting good money. They pumped money into the club. It was an exciting time for Gretna, to be fair. It didn't bother me playing them, and I personally done quite well against Gretna. But the story, I was at Queen of the South and went to Dundee, and I had an injury coming back for Dundee, for Queen of the South, and Ian McCall had the job. But Ian McCall had just come in, and I was just coming back for injury, and he brought his own players in. So it was kind of a strange, because he said to me at the start, and I go well with Ian now, but he said to me at the start, "You're not going to play here. You're going to be fourth choice striker. You can go and find yourself a club." So I went away, and obviously I was getting fit. I got my agent, and we got a club. But when I went back to him and I said to him, "Right, Gaffer, that's me. I've got a club in that." He went, "Right, okay, out of curiosity, who is it?" And I says, "Dundee." And he says, "Oh, I can't let you go to a bigger club than." So I says, "You've told me I'm not playing. You've told me that I'm not in your plans, and to get a club in it." Basically, my mind's made up now, and it was nothing. I love Queen of the South, but getting told that you weren't going to play and to find another club, I kind of made my mind up that, right, okay, I'm not going to be playing there. So he kind of tried to keep me. At the end up, he says, "Listen, you get a chance," and I says, "Listen, it's not going to work, because my mind's made up now. I've been told really I'm not wanted here, and I've had a good time at the club, so I would like this move to happen." And it dragged out a wee bit. I had to end up going down and see the chairman and stuff and all that, and try to get free to go. And it went, and that season I ended up scoring 4 against Queen of the South, and I got on great with the players, obviously, and Ian McCall. I got on really well with him now, but every time I was scoring, I could see him like, "You wee bastard." So I actually worked in my favour, and I had to score against Queens, but obviously because they were good to me and stuff. But I was wanting to stay in Ian McCall. I wasn't in the plan, so that's why I moved on first time.
I mean, just on that quick as well, it's not something I've written down. It's just I've always been eager to know the sort of unwritten rule of football, right? That I guess for you it's a bit different because you're a striker, but players always seem to score against their ex-club. Like you said, you hit 4 past them. Do you think there's something in that? Does the ball just fall nicely for you in those? Because even defenders will break goal-scoring ducks, right, against their ex-club.
You know what? There must be something in it, because I think it's more, you can't go out there thinking trying too hard, because you take away from your game. So, but it must be inside you, because I basically go, I'll show them that I should have been playing there, and it must be a bit of everything and a wee bit of luck the ball fall into you in times. And I'm friendly with Big Jim Thompson. I'm good pals with Big Jimmy, and he's directly against me. He's centre back and I'm centre forward, so there's a wee bit of hanging on with me and him. And it just worked out for me at the time. And he's going, no, you again. And when you score, you know what I mean? Because a couple of them were maybe the winning goals in the game. It just worked for me. And obviously, because I was told I was no longer wanted, maybe it had that wee bit in me that, I'll show you. I should have been playing or whatever. So maybe a wee bit of everything.
Amazing. So the next sort of 4 to 5 seasons or years, you go through a bit of a dry spell, certainly by your standards. Morton, Hamilton, Calum, where you actually claim your second division or League One title. How is it as a player, you're sort of dealing through those tough? I mean, especially for someone that you had good starts at most of your clubs, and then you're sort of hitting this. I think there was an injury around this time as well, but you're sort of hitting this dry spell.
There was a lot of issues there. Obviously, on camera, but there was when I was at Morton, I had a problem with the police, and it was well documented at the time. And I started well there. This knocked me off a wee, but I ended up getting cleared. It was a drugs thing, and police raided my house. I ended up getting cleared. It was nothing to do with me, but at the time it knocked me because I had the carrier at my shoulders. Obviously, I had to wait until trial date before I could clear my name. So it was a bit of taking that away from football. I had that on my shoulders. And it didn't. The football was maybe secondary then, so it affected my football. Then when I left and I had a bad injury at Hamilton. Was when I was playing my best football. Was when I was in the SP. I was in the Premier League with them. So and I snapped 3 ligaments in my knee. And when I was hitting best form there, so I went out to Cowdenbeath to try and get matches to get me back up to speed. Wasn't the same, and their pitch was wee and I wasn't getting the room. Just didn't fit for me at Cowdenbeath. But there was a few reasons why I went through that spell. Wasn't happy, obviously, what was going on behind the scenes. And you've got to be happy, and you've got to be happy to play your best football and be relaxed. But I had a few things in the background that needed sorted out first. Plus, my knee was a career-threatening injury. They says I don't know if I would come back. So then I had to adjust my game, to be fair. I had to adjust the ligaments I did was the back, and it stops the blood supply getting to your knees. So I had to get right away. You could lose your leg for it. You lose your leg with a blood supply, so it was quite bad. And then the cruciate had went, so I was out for over a year and 2 months trying to get back, and then to try and get to that level. I played professional again. I found it tough, but then with the work that I'd done in the gym and stuff, it came back. Thankfully, it came back, but it wasn't the same player. I wasn't as quick. Had to maybe adjust my game and start coming to feet and stuff and linking up the play. But it came again. Do you know what I mean? The goals started coming and adjusted. But it took me, as you said, it took me a few years to, obviously with that happening at Morton, moving on, the injury, it took me a few years to get over it.
Wow, I mean, so I think I read somewhere it was a similar injury to John Kennedy, obviously. It's gone
exactly.
The
surgeon, Colin Walker, it was it done it. He was the one that told me when I was in the bed just going for it. He says, listen, it's the exact same injury as Big John Kennedy. He says, but he got hit for the side. Remember playing for Scotland? He got hit, and the only difference with me and his was his alignment was out in his leg because he had been hit for the side. Mine wasn't. Mine, nobody was near me, so it was probably a clean break, and my alignment was fine, which made me get back. And unfortunately, John never got back to play at that level, and that. So I was fortunate in that way. I was glad that I got back, because there was times that I'm thinking I'm not making this here. It was tough coming back for it. There was times that I thought I've no chance because it was so severe. Do you know what I mean? So it was a lot of mental toughness and a lot of gym work and a lot of just gritting the teeth really and saying I'm going to get back. But it was really tough, and unfortunate for Johnny. His was a wee bit different with his alignment in his leg because he was a top player, wasn't he?
He was indeed, yeah. I mean, Scotland killed for a centre back at this time, weren't they? I mean, it's crazy to hear. Like, I mean, you're still so young at this time, really, considering how far your career goes after this.
Yeah, I think when I did that, I don't know the dates, but I think I'm around about 27, 28 when I did it.
27.
Yeah, 27. So, and to be fair, it took me Billy Reid was the manager, and we had great team, the McCarthys and MacArthurs and all of these, and it was a great team. So I struggled to get in the team because he played me up front, wide left, maybe wide right. I played in every position, apart from through the middle, because he wanted a big, powerful centre forward, and the way he played football. So I kind of played all over the place, and it took me maybe the best part of over a year to get in his team, and I was working hard and I was doing well in training, but we had some really great players, and we were getting really good results, and that was the following season when I broke in. I think it was the fourth game into the season when I done it. I was actually in the team for the start. I was getting a run of games. I was doing well, and then that happened. It was just, I know your dream is obviously to play as high as you could. And I get to the Premier League and start playing regular, and then that happened to me. And I just wasn't going to get back to that level again. I couldn't. With the injury I got, you need to be quitting things. So it took a bit of my pace. So I just wasn't going to get back at that level. But I was just happy to get back at any level, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a great segue mentioning Hamilton, because you like you say, you're part of this great Hamilton team. There was, Cherney was in goal as well. He was a fantastic keeper. MacArthur and McCarthy are the two standouts there.
Yeah.
They're obviously two massive prospects at the time. Could you tell that they were going to go, both of them, how high they might go? Was there maybe that inkling?
Without doubt, the two of them were. And I'll be honest, James MacArthur, wouldn't mind me saying this, I'm still friends with James MacArthur. James McCarthy was on, I think, at the time, a different level. He had natural ability for his age and calmness. Maybe we were playing Aberdeen in a game and it was 0-0. And the boy's 16, say he was 16, I'm sure, 16, 17. And remember, he was getting pelters for not choosing Scotland, they chose Ireland.
Yeah, that's right.
The country. So he had that on his shoulders, and every away fans gave him absolute pelters. And for a boy at that age, we were playing Aberdeen, he was getting it for the crowd, and it was nothing each, quite a powerful game, and he had two bits of magic. We won 2-0, he scores two. And it was just calm, he didn't let anything get to him. And looking, going, this boy could go anywhere, because he had that calmness, he was terrific ability, and he just didn't get up or down, he just stayed the same way. And he have people like that chanting, obviously because he wasn't at Scotland, that could affect certain players. It didn't affect him. And MacArthur worked hard. He had just as good a career, but he had to work harder. And James, he did work in training and everything he done. He was really committed to everything. He was in the gym, he was at running, he was up the front, away from football, he loved it right. But McCarthy had mere ability. He wouldn't mind me saying that. He had natural ability that could take him anywhere, but the two of them are top players. And I'll tell you, Alec Neil was underestimated. He was different class. Alec Neil was a great player.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I started listing them out, to be honest, and I was just like, you didn't realise how many good players Hamilton had at that time.
Really good. And Billy Reid's training was the training. Honestly, best training I've done. The training tempo. Obviously, you had to have the players to do it, but his training tempo was free. He came off the training pitch knackered, but really enjoyed it. It was all with the ball possession, but it was one touch, two touch league, and everybody was at it. You had to be at it because the players like Alec Neil wouldn't have you no been at it. Mm. He was on you, by the way. See, even if you're in the opposite team, he was on everybody. If they want to put the effort in, he would stop it. And as being the captain, he would stop training and say, listen, this isn't good enough. We think we're going to play people on Saturday in Premier Leagues. We'll get rattled. And the training went from there to there. And it was good to be a party because without knowing it, your touch gets better. Everything gets better without even knowing it. With maybe 3-4 months training at that standard. And it showed on a Saturday. We were competing with Rangers and Celtic at home. All right, going away. It was tough, but you were competing with these guys. And you weren't anywhere near the money that these people were getting. So it was just through hard work and dedication. And obviously some of the boys had real ability. But it was good to be part of.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Billy Reid there. He obviously goes on and becomes Graham Potter's number 2, and he was obviously at Brighton and Chelsea. Could you understand completely why Graham Potter has got a guy like that next to him, as you just said how good his training was?
Definitely. And as a guy as well, his man management skills are different class. He was brilliant. He knew when to switch. He knew when to switch and be like hard on people. He was ruthless. He didn't have any slack even in games. He was ruthless, but he's likeable. He would come in and have a crack with the boys, and he would pull you in for a chat. He would say, "Listen, you need to do this." He was a real good guy. But when you were on the pitch for training or anything like that, it wasn't messing about. There was nothing and it showed with results and the way the careers that the boys had. He obviously pushed McCarthy's and MacArthur to get them moves because he seen it in them. He pushed them and he coached these boys, and you could see for the training that there's a lot of thought going into his stuff. His training was top class, and obviously when he went on, I was delighted for him to go to Green Potter and then end up Chelsea. Didn't he end up at Chelsea? You don't know he's going to go that big, but good on him because his stuff's top class.
Tremendous. But we'll move on then, because obviously this is where your career, I would say, really, really comes to life. I mean, it's been a fantastic career, but it comes to life when you rejoin Queens. You win Division 2 and the Challenge Cup as a double, 2 losses all season, 55 goals between you and Nicky Clark that season as well. I think Gavin Riley was scoring goals as well around that time. What made that team so special? You've obviously come out of a really special Hamilton team and maybe a lower down sort of, a different type of special, but what made that Queens team so special that season?
I think it was Alan Johnson. Was Alan Johnson the manager? Sticky. His training good as well. His training was good, high tempo. He demanded high standards. And then when you've got that, and Nicky Clark was banging goals in, there was a good foil for him. And his dad was the assistant. Sandy was the assistant. So we had a good, same again. We were all. I've been lucky when I went into dressing rooms. Maybe I'm part to play in it. We've had a good dressing room. Everybody's together. There's nobody left out. There's no wee cliques, and so we all do things. We'll go out for a pint together. We'll go into training. We'll have a wee carry on with each other. But when we went to training run, it was serious, and we worked really hard, and we got on really well with each other. I think that's underestimated in football. I think you've got to have a good dressing room. I've seen it before. You have cliques where 3 and 4 go about, and they don't really mingle with each other. I've been lucky enough to have good dressing rooms, and I think that was a good part of playing it. Management, and obviously my love for that club made me feel back at home, and come off an injury obviously, and feeling well at myself and scoring a few goals again, and I just fell in love back with football, and obviously people around about me again, like friends and the fans as well. The fans were brilliant with me, as I said, every time that I pulled that tap on, because there's one thing about me. I never had the best ability in the world, but I gave 100% whenever I played. So I think they appreciate that. First and foremost, they appreciate the hard work, and you'll run for 90 minutes and you'll compete for everything. And then if you're scoring goals at the same time, it helps. But I think the work I put in for them, they appreciated it.
Amazing. You win the Challenge Cup, as I just mentioned. You come through 4 bouts of extra time that season with 2 penalty shootouts. Unbelievable resilience in the team. On obviously the special one must have been Rangers beating them at Ibrox on penalties. You missed the first penalty. Sorry to bring that up, but where is your mindset during a penalty shootout? Are you beating yourself up, or are you thinking first penalty, we've still got time to get
it? Yeah, and you obviously know we ended up going through, but there's a wee bit of thing in this as well. I was friendly with McCulloch for Rangers. Big jig, so I was friendly with him. So he goes up first to hit the penalty. But I was at boxing training with McCulloch pre-season. I'd done pre-season with him. We went to my mate's boxing gym, so to keep us ticking over. So we were quite friendly and went for a pint together. So he's went up obviously and he scored, but he's got the ball. The ball's obviously at the centre. So he's walked over, took the ball, and he's came. When I'm walking up, he knows what he's doing. He's walked towards me and he's looked at me and he's went, "Give me the ball," and he's went, "I fancy you, wee man," but he's sniggering. So he's kind of in my head, started getting my head, and I went, "Listen, what way I was going to go there? I've just changed it, and I shouldn't have. I went, I'm just going to go with pace, because if the keeper, I'll beat him." And I've hit it too clean, and I hit the crossbar. But Big Jig was part of the thing, because he knew where I hit my penalties, and I thought, he's told the keeper where I'm going here. He's come up to me and just looked at me and says, "I fancy." He's trying to get in my head, but we ended up winning it. I think Big McGuffey scored the winning penalty, so it didn't harm us too much.
Yeah, I have to ask this one, just because obviously during the research, this kept popping up time and time again. On the subject of Rangers, obviously your boyhood team, the paper stories around 2012 were that you instructed someone to get hold of Ali McCoist and say that you'll play for nothing. How true is that? And if it's true, did anything happen? Were there any talks?
That's true, and it wasn't for the money, because I said I would do it. I would have went. Listen, Rangers in the top division, I'm not getting a chance to play for them. So when they go down the divisions, I've done it in I've scored goals in every division. I could have done a job for them. So obviously the family being Rangers men, I thought this is a time that I could pull on the Rangers jersey. If ever a time it was now. And I think they needed players obviously without spending crazy money, and without saying that I don't think Rangers would let me play for nothing, but I would have done it, and it wouldn't have took a lot to get me there. I was just desperate to go and play and wear the jersey for family and for myself to say that I played for them. Although I know that if it was in the Premier League, I wouldn't have been able to get the chance to do that. But any other leagues, I know I could have done a job for them. So as true, I asked my agent, Tam Callahan, to put my name in and just say, listen, I'll go and play for nothing. I'll desperately go and play for Rangers. And I don't know if it faltered through to Ali or whatever, or hang me, but seemingly he went for, like say, your tried and trusted with Kenny Mullers and your Chris Boyds and stuff. And I can't fault that because they'd done it for Rangers at the top level, but I would have done it for a fraction of the price. And I think I would have done it right at that level.
Yeah, I don't doubt that with your goals. It wasn't really the Rangers' method at that time, was it? To keep it cheap, really. They were, especially after the Kevin Carr story and things like that. So, so it's sort of.
Well, it was true, yeah. And I offered it, but I don't know if I got told that obviously it got to Ali, but I don't know how true that is. And I don't know if he's received it or he had. Obviously, he's got his own ambition, his eye for his own players. He probably knows who he's bringing in. But I did offer, so it was one of the ones if it was ever going to happen, it would happen then.
Change of manager then for the championship season. Jim McIntyre comes in. You reach the playoffs. You're the joint top goal scorer that season. How big is a managerial change as a player in terms of sort of the training, the coaching? Obviously, it is successful with Jim, but what are you looking for? I guess when a manager comes in, is there something that you want from a manager coming in?
No, I think everybody's in the same boat. I think when a manager comes in, he just treats everyone the same, and you've got to earn the right to go and play in his team. And I knew a bit about Jim, and obviously I'm older, so I knew a bit about him when he played as well at Dundee United. We played in a. Well, I'll tell you a quick story. We were playing Dundee United and Rangers. I think Rangers had beat Dundee United 7-1 or 6-1 or something like that the week before, and so I came away with a stupid comment and says, if they beat us, because they were saying they were going to take their revenge out on us, so I said, if they beat us 7-1, I'll run about bollock naked. So this hits the paper. And I'm in the front. So being young at the time, they've coaxed me into doing an interview for the paper, and I'm in the front page of the paper with a ball, nothing on, but with a ball in my private saying, if you beat us 7-1, I'll run about naked. So they were fuming. And obviously I got a few elbows early doors, and Jim was one of them. When he came in, he says, we've gone down in the bush, you were getting pelters. They were coming for you, obviously. So coming in right away, he was right on me. I can't remember, you said this and said that. So thankfully, it ended up 4-0, I think, at half time. I was going, I'm going to have to end up. So he was good when he came in. Jim brings standard as well about Jim. He was the same, and but similar to myself, he had looked after himself in terms of the gym in a game on a Saturday. I think he was put everything in it and never left it in there. So he kind of took to me, and I enjoyed him. Although we had a couple of clashes that I'll tell you about later. We had a couple of clashes that I was on the transfer list at one point.
Oh my God, I have to get to that. Another fourth place finish as well follows the next season, where again, your top goal scorer, really obviously find your way now. You were edged out by Rangers in the playoff. You score in both legs as well. Listen, you're 33, 34, but the goals are flying in. Is there any sort of like interest? Is anyone sort of making themselves known that you could do a job for them, or is it just full focus?
No, and do you know what? I'm honest here. I was enjoying it. I enjoyed the club, and I was there. I fitted in again, and I was playing my best football again. And I had a pub at the time, so I had a pub. So it wasn't for money. I was making money elsewhere in a pub. So if anybody came in for me, it would have to be right good. And at my age, my age then, I wasn't going to get that really. So I had an earnings. I wasn't on great money at Queen's, but I had earnings for a pub that I was running. So the money wasn't the thing for me. I didn't have to chase the money. I was getting decent money, so I was comfortable and I was enjoying football. I didn't even look at anything else. I don't know if there was anybody sniffing about or not, but there was nothing that I was looking to go or I was enjoying it. And obviously, with the injury that I had, I'm saying, right, I'm back playing, I'm scoring goals. Who knows how long you've got left? Maybe a year at 34. Just keep going, and that's what I've done in year after year, and it just seemed to click for me. Obviously, as I got older, I went through a purple patch probably then, where in terms of goals and feeling good, and I don't know what it was. If maybe that year out, maybe got left something in the tank because I had a year out, maybe I was hungrier coming back. I don't know, but when I hit 33, 34, 35, it seemed to kick in again.
I mean, I could probably be here all day talking about your career at Queen of the South, to be honest. You've had so many ups here. Again, top goal scorer in the 15-16 season. And then in the 16-17 season, Stephen Dobbie comes in and Queens just have this sort of, I mean, at this point, they just keep signing strikers that score goals. How was Stephen Dobbie for you? Because it was a partnership that went well as well. You both scoring goals and he goes on to score,
really
goals for Queens.
First of all, a top guy, and he brung experience. Obviously, we've been doing where he played Swansea and stuff, and Crystal Palace and that. What a player! The best player I've played with by far.
Wow!
And I'm going to exclude young James McCarthy in that ability-wise, but see this Stephen Dobbie's ability for going by people as if they were in their egg. He's like he glides, and his finishing was a joke, an absolute joke. He could roll the ball and training through three people's legs, and I'm not kidding on you. He could put the ball through three people's legs and bend it at the top corner. And regular. This wasn't one-offs. You could do that maybe one-offs. You could, or I could, in a one-off, but he was doing it regular. People were actually feared to go into him because of what he could do to them. And it was brilliant to watch, and he was a top guy, very, very humble guy. Didn't show off, wrong standards, and obviously he was heavy in his career early on. And he went down there and changed his life a bit and come back in great shape, ate right. And obviously his ability wasn't in question. And it rubbed off on everybody around about because they're seeing this guy coming in at his age. And I'll be honest, I like going out at the weekend. So sometimes I come in and I wasn't great and the Monday a wee bit rough, but he didn't really do that. So people looking at him with the career he had, coming into that, it pushed other people around about him. When he was top player to play against, it was so easy. We get the ball in a 10, maybe in the 10 position, and you would just come short for him to bounce it off us. And he would just bounce it off you, go by players and score. It was frightening.
Wow, it's amazing. It's obviously, tremendous. Just from his stats, you can see the goals were a joke, but it's amazing to hear that sort of in-depth detail on him. During your time, though, with sort of Queen of the South, do you think they maybe did underachieve? So I know it's the budget wasn't high, but there were playoffs. 17-18 season in particular. There's Dobbie, yourself. There's Sean Rooney, Marshall, McFadden's there for a spell. A young Jason Kerr's there. Danny Carmichael, I think, comes back at that point. Which obviously there was a lot of focus during the Rangers, Hearts, and Hibs season in the Championship, so that a lot of the games were live. And I remember in particular. I don't know why he always stuck out to me, but Danny Carmichael to me always stuck out because he just seemed to be everywhere, all over the pitch. Had an unbelievable engine. Do you certainly think that you're a side that maybe could have got to a playoff final? Obviously not that season because it was a bit of a joke of a league, but do you think maybe there was a little bit of underachievement in that team?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've got. I'm not hungry. I would love to have seen them get into the Premier League where I was. I would love, because as you say, we had good players. Maybe it was just out of reach, but that was one of the things that hurts a wee bit, knowing to get them there would have been great for the fans and the club in general. The full place in Dumfries, it would have been great for them, and we had a right good team, and probably we had a chance. And that was one of the regrets that we never managed to get there. But as you say, like Calum Michael, he could have won games himself. He was brilliant. The guy was brilliant, and he got his move to Hibs off it. So he was really good. And then your Sean Rooney's and the Kerrs, they came in when they were coming through at your St Johnston's and stuff. So they're top players. When you look back on it, you forget about these boys, what careers they've got now, because they were only young at the time. They went on to have great careers. So that's one of the regrets, that we couldn't get them there. But I don't think maybe we were just a couple short.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you reached the playoffs quite a few times. How do you find the players and the Championship playoffs in particular? Because they don't really follow the same suit as League One and League Two. It's very stacked against any team in the Championship, really. I think especially if you're fourth or third, you've got to play each other, and then you've got to play second, and then you've got to play 11th in the top division. Do you think that could...
Yeah, it could change that a wee bit. I think we could have a better balance, because I think we did finish fourth or third, so we did have to play the extra games to get through to it. And I think once you get to the end and people are fresh coming in, and it's gone up a notch as well, you're playing the second bottom of the SPL and that, if you get to the final, you're stacked against you, really stacked against you. I think it could have been better format for people. I think third and fourth would have found it tough. Who was it? Was it Partick Thistle who got there a couple of seasons ago and just get put out with penalties with Ross County?
Yeah, they did. There's only a few teams that have actually made it. I think Hamilton did it against Hibs, didn't they?
Hamilton did it, but Partick as well. They ran out of steam. It's a shame, because you've obviously had a decent season, and then the people who's coming down have not had a good season because they're second bottom of their league, so they've not had a great season. But by the time you meet each other, they're fresh, and you've just come off of maybe 4 games. It's very tough. Plus, they're better players. Obviously, they must be able to play at a higher level, so it's very tough to try and win that. I think it could have been thought of, the format could have been a wee bit better.
Yeah, and listen, your time does eventually come to an end at Queen of the South. 2 second division titles, 2 Challenge Cups, a testimonial, inducted into the Hall of Fame. How would you sum up your sort of career at Queen of the South?
Queen of the South, loved every minute of it, and I think I couldn't speak any highly of the club and the people around about it, the fans, and even all the players that came through the door, because it was a great time for me, and it just seemed, looking back on it, obviously played at a higher level with Hamilton's, but that seemed to be the place that I found the best time in my career. I was happy getting into training every morning and playing on a Saturday, whether I'd be playing or coming off the bench at a later age, and that, I really enjoyed that time looking back. I'd have loved to have it back some capacity, coaching or something like that. Maybe it'll happen further down the road, because I went back and played in a game. I went back and played in Stephen Dobbie's testimonial game. We played Scotland Legends, and the fans again they just took to me again, and I felt as if it had not been away, and hopefully maybe in the future I could go back in some capacity, because it means a lot to me.
Amazing. Jim McIntyre again pops in, takes you to Peterhead. How is that travelling wise? Obviously up to Peterhead, and are you thinking? Are you starting to look at the end of your career now? Do you think at this point there is another 4 seasons of 25 plus games, which you obviously go on and
no,
make?
To be honest, it's Jim McAnally. It was the manager, wasn't it?
John Yeah, sorry.
And I had never played for Jim, but he phoned me, and at the time, I honestly was thinking about that was me done. And I got a phone call. I had a few offers, and I got a phone call for Jim, and he spoke really well. And he said, "Listen, son, come up and enjoy it. Come up and, who knows, maybe help with a bit coaching strikers, and come up for a year, see how you get on." He says, "But just come up and enjoy football, because I spoke to people, you're good to have about the place, and obviously your experience, you'll help people who don't play every week. If you're feeling it, don't train." It was really, really, really good. He says, if sometimes your kids are that, I think you don't need to come up to training because it's a travel, just be ready for the Saturday, because I know you look after your body and stuff. So it was really, really good to me, and I'm thinking at the time, Peterhead, man, that's some travel at my age and that. And then I found out the players that we had, and we ferry and stuff, and there was a bus leaving for here, and we got a mini bus, and I thought, I'll try it. And I think it was there for 3 years, wasn't I? Because the same thing, I went up and enjoyed. I've always been lucky with the dressing rooms, and everybody was good with me, and the manager was good with me. And if I didn't feel I felt something, like, don't need to come up, because you're sitting. The thing with the travel, we trained in Dundee, but I was sitting in a bus and then got to train at my age. It was kind of a tough, and see going for on the morning. Sometimes we travelled up and stayed on a Friday, but sometimes we didn't in COVID and stuff. So sitting in the bus for the hour and a half or whatever it was to get up there, and then try to get out the bus to get warm, it got tough in the end with stiffness and just no feeling great. And during the game, felt lethargic and stuff, just with the whole travelling stuff. But he ended up using me for the bench, and then a bit of coaching involved, and I really enjoyed my time there as well. I'm being honest. The fans, I gave everything when I played. Never scored as much goals, and obviously my legs would go on a bit. But when I played, I gave 100%, and I think they respected that and they seen that, and try to help the younger boys run about me. And what I had learned, obviously, in my career, so it was still good. It was still beneficial to me. I was still ticking over. I was still looking after myself fitness wise, and it's good. I thought it was good for my head. To still be in the dressing room and be about people and have that, obviously, togetherness with the players and the manager, as I say, was great with me. And Davy Nichols, they were all brilliant with me. I've never had really a manager who I could turn around and say I didn't really like him. I got on with most people, so it was still a good point in my career. But I'm just sad that I couldn't give them my best, obviously, days, but they were behind me at that time, sadly.
Jim McAnally. Sorry, Freudian slip there on the name. Too similar to Jim McIntyre, isn't it? You pick up another winners' medal while you're there as well. In the league, that's your 8th medal across 5 clubs. Season ends in 2022, and then we move on to Broomhill, or Open Goal Broomhill at the time. When did you first hear about sort of this interest? Obviously, you knew Si from Peterhead, and so when did that interest come to you? Were you planning on retiring at this point, and sort of how is it having those cameras around for the documentary?
Yeah, well, I was a coach for the strikers at this point with Peterhead, and young Si was taking training. His training was really good, really intense, and that. And you seen a difference in, like, when we played, we were pressing high up the pitch, and it made a difference. I'm not saying the manager didn't, but it was a wee bit different from what Jim done. So you let Si take the training, and I was taking strikers. But near the end, me and Si had a good relationship. We travelled in the minibus for Glasgow with a few of the other boys, and I think it was near the end of that season when I thought, right, this is me. I'm going to retire. Whether I took up coaching or that, it was fine to see if it was an offer at the end of the season. But I think I knew my time was up with the playing side there. And then Si pulled me and he says, "Listen, we're taking over a team, and I would like to take you with me. Would you be interested?" And I says, I listened to him, went for a coffee, and I listened to him, and I just found it just, in hindsight, it didn't really work after the first season. I think it should have went on another season, but anyway, I could have stayed at Peterhead probably and done a bit of coaching, but I felt this is a new thing. It was quite exciting that a podcast over a football team had never been done before, and it was quite exciting. I went, why not try it? You might look back and say, I should have done that if I didn't. If it went well, I might have looked back and said, I should have went there. So I tried it. It was back down the road. But if I stayed at Peterhead, it would have been travelling, and just for coaching side of it. I was doing in Glasgow again, and it was something exciting, and it was just different from what I was used to. So that was Simon that asked me, and he said that obviously they were taking over it. He was going to be the manager, with Abby one of his assistant manager. And obviously, I knew the standards when I trained that I gave everything, and I looked after myself in the gym and stuff like that. And he wanted that run about for when he brought players in, because I still, when we trained, I still trained with the players, see if it wasn't going well. Even at the age I was at, I still went in and I could make a difference in training at that level, and I would give everything. So he would basically say, look, he's 43, or he's 41 or 42 now, and look at the effort he's putting in just to young kids, just to drum it into them in training. So it was going okay, started, and then obviously the results weren't there, and different things happened behind the scenes, and it didn't really materialise. But I think it will cut it too short. I think there was a 2-year programme in place, and I would have liked to have seen the 2-year out, but it wasn't to be, and it was no fault with anybody. I still got on with everybody, Si and Wee Slaney and stuff, and people feel and go when I see them. I speak to them, go for a pint with them, and doesn't have feelings. I just feel as if a year was a wee bit early to try and get where he wanted to go. I mean, you put a team together and try and win that league, and it's a tough league, as you probably know. There's a lot of good teams and good players in it. So his training was good, but we just, at the first year, it cut short, and it was a wee bit disappointing that happened. But there's no hard feelings, and actually I enjoyed. There was some really good times in it. We went away up, I think it was Bucky or something. We won the cup game, and the bus back down the road was absolute carnage. Me, myself, so and all the players loved it, and that time we'll get them back. That was great memories there, and the difficult thing was, I felt for some players was the camera, the cameras. I felt as if, say, I put myself in their position. If you're a young player and you get cameras on about you, and then somebody comes in and you get maybe getting hammered and you're not doing so well, it's hard to go out in the second half and maybe, it takes a certain type of player to go out and just, you know what I mean? It was hard for some players, and you sometimes forget about the cameras or running about. So that side was even tough for me because I wasn't used to that either. But to be fair, every one of the boys that we brought in, and they gave us everything. We just fell short, and that was a be all and end all. We fell short.
Yeah, I mean, it was just from the documentary point of view. I think it was something that you don't see that too often in Scottish football as well. I find, you know, England have so many of them. Even they're even starting to sort of surface from like the 90s where they had these camera crews around, and now they're starting to release them, and we don't have that in Scotland. So for me, it was like I enjoyed the documentary thoroughly. Like just watching every single episode, it was getting that insight, not just into a top level team, but like into that level was.
It's probably better when you watch it at that level. It's probably better, more interesting to watch because it's real, isn't it? So if you go,
100%.
There's obviously players, and I'd imagine some things are scripted, and that, but when you get there, it's just raw. It's just raw in the dressing room, and sometimes you've obviously seen the way he goes, the way he was going off his head. That is just emotion, and it's just raw emotion, and it's probably good for people to look back and watch that because it's real. That is real, and there's nothing cut about it. It was. When they put the cameras on, that was it, and you forget about it, and you're in the moment. At half time, you're getting beaten. Your own players now. You go, fuck cameras and that. Do you know what I mean? You did get caught up in it. So it was good because a lot of people enjoyed that side of it and watching it. When's the next episode? Because everything was real about it, and it was just normal young boys trying to do well, and us when right in there, it was a new thing, and I hadn't done really coaching before. I've been put in that position, so it was even though you played in front of thousands of people at Ibrox, Parkhead, whatever you've done, this was something new. This was something new, and you knew it was going out there. So it was a wee bit, all these cameras about and the mics all about. It was very, very strange at the start, and then you got used to it. But I don't know how it was for the players. I don't know if I would have liked at a young age being everything on the cameras, and if you're only having a good game, getting magnified, and do you know what I mean? And then you know it's going out there. I don't know how I think I would have reacted. I'd have been okay, but everybody's different. Everybody's different how they react to that, and maybe people couldn't be themselves on the pitch for certain reasons. But I enjoyed my time, and I enjoyed the boys running about. We had some great time. I just wish it would have went another season to see where we could have went.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting. Final couple then, just to wrap it up. You end up playing again for, you know, you've looked at maybe retiring, but you do end up putting the boots back on. You score. I watched all these episodes on release, by the way, so my memory not be this, but I think it's a header, is it, that it comes over and you...
Oh, well, strange, I know, because I'm at the side, but obviously I was registered for emergencies. That was it, emergencies. I registered as a player, but we were getting beat. I think it was Berwick Rangers or something we were playing.
It was,
yes. At this time, we're getting beat 2-0 at half time, and we've had a few bad results at this time. So we were up near the top of the table. Everything's gone good. We had a few bad results, and for some reason, we conceded 2 daft goals. It started okay in the game. We had a lot of young boys, so he said to me just before half time, "Are you ready?" And I said, What do you mean? He went like that. They all need to put you on. He says, we need something. We need something, even going and try and get the boys up for it. And it was just pure luck. It fell for me that day because I went on, we scored. Second half I went on, we scored right away. And then I play a ball through for Broadfoot. He scores, made it 2 each. And then the ball comes in and I score a tap in to make it 3-2 to win the game late on in the game. You couldn't script it. But because I'm assistant manager, I'm not even warmed up. And he just says, go and get one. I need something. Yeah. And I was in part. I think it was in part. Maybe 2 or 3 goals, scored the winner, and you couldn't read. I went in with a big cheeser, and he's just pointing at me, going like, "You couldn't make that up." So it was last chance saloon kind of thing. I get flung on, and the ball fell for me, and we ended up winning the game 3-2.
Amazing. Did he ever try and get? I know you do. I think you make one more appearance of that. Is he trying to get you to get the boots on more often after that, or is it just?
He's very difficult if you feel as if you wanted to play in that. But I personally felt when I was that age and I came in, I don't want a 42, say a 41-year-old playing in front of me. What's that doing for people? Confidence. Right. You get me? I was a coach, and I'm trying to coach these young players. I took them away for shooting drills, and all of a sudden, I'm playing in front of him. I don't know where that would have put them. So I said to Si, look, I would love to, but I don't know if why players would take that and react to it. And I didn't want to do that to players because they were young boys. They could they better than me at the time, and I just didn't want to go in and when I'm a coach and take that could have killed some people. That could have. I mean, I don't know if I'm 22, 23, and the coach that's coaching me as a striker coach ended up playing my position. I'd be going, "Oh, how bad am I?" Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it would have been for the best, and I think that's what I said to him. I think that was my words. Look, I don't know how people would react to that, mate. I would do if I were ever in need and all that, I'll play the odd game, but if I start getting fit to play, you're going to lose a couple of them. You're going to lose a couple of them mentally. So I think that's where we left it.
I've got a few quick fires to end it, but if we've got time, can we really quickly hear Jim McIntyre putting you on the transfer list and why?
Yeah, of course. Right now, well, it was more in fault. I have some laughs with him when I see him. I goes in, so I like when I was playing football. On the Saturday, I would go home and have a curry with the missus and that, and I liked a Sunday when the drink. I liked an all-day Sunday. Football was on. I was obviously at the end of my career. I wasn't coming through young boy, so I enjoyed a Sunday. So I goes in, and Jim's no long took the job, and I'm obviously his top striker. And standards and stuff, he was high on it, and I goes in one Monday morning, I've been it all day Sunday, and he could smell the drink off us. And he made an example, and he pulls me in, and he says, "Dale, I can't have this." And I'm saying, "What do you mean? I've done it for years, right? I've done it for years." But when you're scoring and you're doing your bit, people can turn a blind eye to it as long as you're doing it. And I wouldn't, by the way, I would never go out during the week. I was never in during the week. I would go to the gym, I would work harder during the week, but I liked a Sunday. It was just in me. I loved a Sunday out. But obviously, you could tell on the Monday I've been out. So I goes in, he pulls me in front of the boys. He says, "Listen, I'm fining Dell a week's wages. And if he does it again, I'll be on the transfer list." He says, "Because I can't accept that." It was more or less, I hang me to everybody else, don't do that. And he says, "Because I've let you away with it. Other people might do it, and you're my top striker." 2 weeks later, I guess in again. Steaming. I'm still steaming for the Sunday. I've got an ankle pack on. I've got an injury, and I've got the wee waves that go through your ankle thing. I've got that wee pad on my ankle, and he says, "Can I have a word with you?" So he's pulled me again into his office, and he says, "Listen, I can't have that." So there was a bit of an argument there, and I says, "I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm still in the training. I'm injured. Blah blah blah." So it was a wee bit. It was quite heated, Jim, and I was the same. So there was a wee bit of argument, and I said, "Oh, fuck it." So I left. Took the pads off, left, and he let me leave, and I was off training for a couple of days, and I didn't know where I stood. I didn't know where I stood with it, and I kind of a text, and I don't know how we got speaking again, but when the coach says, "Get your ass in, get in during the week," so I think I went in maybe it was a Wednesday, and he pulls in again, and he says to me, "Dale," he's raging, absolute raging. He says, "I've told you this can't happen, blah blah blah. You're now getting fined 2 weeks' wages." We're putting the transfer list. I was putting the transfer list. He says, "You can, if you train well and you're doing all right, I'll still use you, but you're on the transfer list." I says, "Aye, right, fine." That it wasn't really see the money as well as I said. I had the pub, so it wasn't the money. Obviously, it's sore getting the money took off you, but I was still earning money. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't the be all and end all. So I was still getting paid off my pub. But so it didn't affect me as in my training again. So I was still training well. And then he would put me on the Saturday and on the transfer list, and I would score. And he would just look at me and shake his head as if to say, "What am I going to do with you?" So then it was his birthday. In fact, it was his birthday the following weekend. And my wee children had one of the segways. See one of the segways you go on? So it played music. So the boy says all they could hear was coming along the corridor was this music. And I said, "Where's that coming from? It's getting closer." So I goes into the dressing room. I'm on the transfer list. I've been fined 2 weeks' wages, and I come in on a Segway with music coming through it, and the players are going, "No way, you can't be." So it's his birthday, and he's in the thing, we're having a cup of tea, and I brings a birthday cake in for him. But I went up to the Asda, and one of the games I had scored, I had took my top off, and I'm sliding along and running a knee slide. So I got that 40 put onto the cake. So he's sitting, he's still not speaking to me. He's still he's not speaking to me. He's in a mood with me. Quite right. So it was my fault. And I goes in, he's having his tea, and I goes, Gaffer, there you go. And I plants a cake in front of him. And he's drinking his tea, and he opens it up, and then I'm me, the top one, and he spits his tea all over the place. And that broke the ice with him again.
Yeah.
He's, listen, I apologise, I'm out of order. And I was after transfer list and back in the team, and everything was fine again. But as you say, he said to me after it, he says, Dale, you were like me. So I had to put a stop. I had to say that I show that I was a boss to everybody else because he liked going out, and he says, I worked tirelessly during the week. He said, I was up at the front of the He says, you remind me of myself, but I had to stop you. I had to show that everybody that I was a gaffer. I says, no, you're right. And looking back, I says, you're 100% right. I says, but that was been in me for a while. That's just the way I'm.
Yeah.
He says, you work your socks off, and that's part of the reason I play, and I kind of binge you. And we really got on well now. I see him at golf days, and we actually talk about it. And he does remind me, I'll go for a beer and that with him if I see him. So he does remind me a bit of myself. But looking back, he spat his tea all over the place, and so that broke the ice with it. But it was good times. I enjoyed it under him. But he was right to do what he done. It was, let's put it out there, it was my fault having in there my work half can. So, but that was the story with him.
Tremendous. Right, quick fire then, just to finish it off. Best player you've played with?
Going to go with the two. I'm going to go with McCarthy and Dobbie for different reasons. Ability-wise, young McCarthy's his career speaks for itself, but Stephen Dobbie's natural ability was frightening in his goal scoring. So I'll go with the two of them. I can't split.
Best player you've played against?
I played in the midfield at Ibrox, and I played against Pedro Mendes, Stephen Davis, and Barry Ferguson.
Jesus.
And it was unbelievable. I've watched it for the stands, but to be on that pitch I was directly against Stephen Davis, so Barry Ferguson. But the three of them.
So you were in the middle in that game?
I was in the midfield. That Billy Reid asked me to man mark Stephen Davis, and he just ran me all in the first 5 minutes. He recognised that I was man marking. He just ran me all the pitch. So I was away out in the right wing. The three of them. It was an eye opener.
Wow. Best manager?
This is a tough one because I've got on my maestro. Go with Billy Reid because it was the highest level I played at.
Fair enough. And finally, we ask every single guest this. What is your go-to pizza topping?
Spicy chicken pizza. My dad's got a pub up the road in the Campsie Barn. I've just started doing pub food again, and the spicy chicken pizza is unreal. He makes it all handmade and all that. So my wee boy loves it. So if I've maybe had a couple of beers at the weekend and I'm a wee bit tender, I'll order one of them. So it's going to be a spicy chicken pizza.
Amazing. Derek, it has been an absolute joy to speak to you. It's a fantastic career, amazing stories, and just thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers, Derek.
Take care.